What began as a tense maritime dispute has now exploded into something far bigger. In one of the most dangerous moments in recent regional politics, Indian civilian vessels were reportedly fired upon after receiving permission to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most critical shipping lanes. That single moment triggered outrage, diplomatic alarms, and a new question now spreading across capitals worldwide. Has Iran lost control of its own chain of command? But this is only part of the story. At the same time, American military power is building across the Middle East at a scale difficult to ignore. Aircraft carriers are moving, supply flights are increasing, and a ceasefire deadline is getting closer by the hour. Inside Iran, public divisions between officials and military factions are now becoming impossible to hide. Messages are conflicting, orders are being challenged, and pressure is rising from every direction. What happened next shocked analysts. Because this is no longer just about one incident at sea. It may be the warning sign of a much larger crisis now forming across the region. The center of this crisis is the Strait of Hormuz, a narrow but extremely important waterway connecting the Persian Gulf to global markets. A large share of the world's oil and commercial shipping passes through it. Any disruption there can affect prices, trade routes, and regional stability almost instantly. According to the competitor script, several ships had been trapped or delayed due to growing tensions and restrictions in the area. Then came a confusing shift. Iranian officials reportedly signaled that vessels could begin passing through again. That should have lowered tensions. Instead, it appears to have done the opposite. A group of Indian ships then attempted to move through the strait after receiving clearance. But as they advanced, gunfire or hostile action reportedly forced them to stop and turn back. Radio messages described panic and confusion, with sailors demanding answers after being told they had permission to proceed. And this is where the story becomes bigger than one maritime clash, because the real issue was not only the firing itself, it was who gave the order and who ignored it. The competitor script describes a visible split between Iran's diplomatic leadership and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, or IRGC. One side appeared to support reopening transit routes. Another side was acting as if the route remained closed and dangerous. That kind of contradiction sends a powerful message to the outside world. Internal coordination may be breaking down. For India, the incident was especially sensitive. India has major commercial interests tied to Gulf shipping lanes and has long balanced relationships across the region. When civilian-linked Indian vessels are caught in crossfire after receiving approval to move, it creates both a security issue and a diplomatic one. Reports in the competitor script state that the Iranian ambassador in New Delhi was summoned after the incident. That is often one of the first visible signs of official anger between states. It signals that explanations are being demanded immediately. But the pressure on Iran did not stop there. At the same moment, the United States was increasing military presence across the wider region. Additional naval forces were moving closer, and a blockade in nearby waters was reportedly disrupting vessel traffic linked to Iran. The script claims multiple ships had already been turned around, increasing economic strain. So in just one sequence of events, Iran faced three growing problems: international backlash after the Indian ship incident, expanding American military pressure, internal disagreement over who controls policy. That combination is dangerous for any state. But this is where things changed. Because what looked like a shipping dispute now started to resemble a wider power struggle unfolding in real time. To understand why tensions rose so quickly, you have to look at the military balance in the region. The competitor script describes the arrival or movement of major American naval assets, including the USS Gerald R. Ford and additional carrier groups heading toward the Middle East. Aircraft carriers are not just ships. They are floating air bases capable of launching sustained operations far from home territory. Their presence alone changes calculations for every actor nearby. A modern carrier strike group can include fighter jets, electronic warfare aircraft, radar systems, escorts, missile defense ships, and logistics support. It sends a message before a single shot is fired. Capability is already in position. And this is where the strategy becomes clear. If negotiations fail, having forces already deployed reduces response time dramatically. It also increases pressure during talks, because diplomacy now takes place under the shadow of military readiness. The competitor script also describes a heavy airlift operation moving equipment and munitions into the region. That matters because wars are not sustained only by weapon systems. They depend on fuel, spare parts, ammunition, and constant supply lines. Logistics often decide how long any campaign can continue. Meanwhile, inside Iran, a different battle appeared to be taking shape. According to the script, public criticism emerged against negotiators and government officials who suggested reopening the Strait of Hormuz. Broadcast messages reportedly dismissed diplomatic statements and insisted that passage would only occur under military authority. That kind of messaging is highly significant. When separate power centers speak publicly against each other during an international crisis, outside governments begin asking a dangerous question: who is actually in charge? If diplomats make promises but commanders on the ground reject them, trust collapses. Shipping companies hesitate, insurance costs rise, foreign ministries harden positions, military planners prepare for worst-case scenarios. What happened next shocked analysts. Instead of reducing pressure after the ceasefire period, every major factor seemed to move in the opposite direction. More naval power entering the region, more uncertainty over shipping lanes, more visible internal division, more risk of accidental escalation. Even small incidents become larger under those conditions. A warning shot can be misread, a radar lock can trigger panic, a vessel changing course can be seen as hostile movement. In crowded waterways, minutes matter. For India, the strategic response did not need to begin with missiles or warships. Diplomatic escalation alone can be powerful. Strong protests, coordination with partners, maritime security reviews, and economic pressure are all tools available before military options are ever considered. For the United States, the approaching ceasefire deadline created another decision point. If talks failed, leaders would have to choose between extending the pause, maintaining only pressure measures, or returning to direct strikes. And for Iran, the challenge may have become larger than any single foreign rival, because the deeper danger was internal fragmentation during an external confrontation. History shows that states under outside pressure are most vulnerable when command structures become confused. Orders slow down, rival factions compete, mixed signals create mistakes, and in this crisis, mistakes could travel far beyond one coastline. The immediate result of the reported incident was diplomatic shock. Indian-linked vessels were forced back under dangerous conditions, and concerns over civilian shipping security rose sharply. Even without major physical damage, the political cost can be significant. The economic stakes are even larger. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most important energy corridors in the world. If traffic slows, reroutes, or becomes too risky, markets can react quickly. Shipping costs rise, insurance premiums increase, energy prices can spike. Businesses far from the Gulf still feel the impact, but the real impact came later. The deeper consequence may be confidence. Once global traders believe a route is unpredictable, restoring trust takes time. Once foreign governments believe messages from a state are inconsistent, negotiations become harder. Now the region moves toward a critical next phase. Will diplomacy stabilize the waterway? Will military pressure force new concessions? Will internal divisions inside Iran grow wider? Or will one more incident push everyone past the point of easy control? Those answers matter not only for Iran or India, but for the wider world, because when a strategic choke point becomes unstable, the effects do not stay local. They spread through supply chains, alliances, and global markets. And right now, the biggest danger may not be the incident everyone saw. It may be the next one nobody expects.